I left you yesterday on the broadcast with a statement concerning Jacob and Esau, and how that Esau despised his birthright and he ended up losing the blessing. But what I said to you is that to understand this story, you have to understand that it's about relationship, and I'm talking about relationship with the true and the living God. Now imagine this with me. Jacob and Esau had grown up in the home of their father Isaac, whose grandfather was Abraham. Abraham, the father of faith. You might even say that this whole thing about the movement that we are in the Christian faith, who so much linked to Judaism, that goes back to the story of Abraham, and how that Abraham, in a land that had become very pagan, there was a man who found God, or let's say God found him. They found each other. I mean, it's a wonderful story about how the one man opened his heart to the reality of the true and the living God. And God took that and developed that relationship. And God said to Abraham, he says, "You are my friend. And you are the father of faith." And he said, because of your desire to have this relationship with God, I'm going to bless you, and you're going to become a nation. The descendants are going to cover this land. It's a beautiful thing. But now here is Jacob and Esau, and they've been hearing about their grandfather, and they may have even had lived during the same time. There might have been a time when it overlapped. And so this whole storyline about Abraham and how that he met God in the wilderness, and he built these altars, and God would appear. And to hear all of those things, it's a wonderful thing to tell your story to your children and your grandchildren. It's just an imperative that we do so. But the thing is that children can hear the story, but it doesn't become really reality to them until they themselves have had an experience with the true and the living God. With Jacob, we've talked about him and his personality, the supplanter, the schemer, the conniver. And he has fought and scrapped to steal the birthright and the blessing from his brother because he's on his way. And I'm sure that a lot of this has to do with fame and fortune. Well, after he does this stunt with his mother's aid to steal the birthright from his brother, to steal the blessing from his brother, Rebekah, his mother, says, "I think it might be a good idea for you to skedaddle before your brother kills you." And so they sent him off. They sent him off to go back to the land where Rebekah had come from. You remember that story, how that Abraham sent the servant over there. That's a great story to read. But on the way, Jacob had his own experience at the altar of God. And church, that's really what we need to have experienced among all believers. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.